Good morning, sweet ladies. Thank you for joining us in Far Above Rubies. I'm so very glad that each of you are here. As we continue our walk through the parables of Jesus today, we're looking at the parable of the two sons, and this is found in Matthew chapter 21, verses 28 through 32. It's a little short passage, so I pray you'll go read it and write it down and dive into it, okay? The parable goes like this. This man had two sons, and he implored them both to go and work in the fields, go work the vineyards for him on this one day. The one son said, no, I can't do it. I'm too busy. But then, once the conversation was over and he walked away, he actually decided, well, you know what, I've got time. And he went like his father had asked, and he worked in the fields. The second son, when asked to work in the fields, said, sure, Dad, I've got all the time in the world for you. I would love to go work in the fields. It is my pleasure in life. And then he walked away from the conversation and thought, you know what? I can do that tomorrow. I can do that another day. There's always time to do that. And he walked away and didn't go work in the fields. And Jesus looks at those listening and he says, which one of these two sons was obedient to the father? Which one of these two sons listened to what the father asked? Which one of these was in the right with his father? And that's the question he poses in verse 31. I'm going to paraphrase here. He says, which of the two sons obeyed his father? And then he says, corrupt tax collectors and prostitutes will get into heaven before you do. He's talking to a collection of priests and temple elders, those who were religious leaders in his day. They were trying to trip him up. They were trying to get him to say something wrong. And of course, Jesus, as always, is coming back at them with parables and things that trip them up because they are not as wise as he is, of course. Now, when he's looking at these religious leaders, telling them that corrupt tax collectors and prostitutes are going to get into heaven before they do, what he's doing here is painting a picture about having an appearance of righteousness, but a rebellious heart. And he's saying that we can go through the motions of a walk with God. We can check the boxes. We can be a rule keeper when it comes to a walk with God, and we can miss relationship. We can miss intimacy in a walk with Jesus. He's saying we can get the 10 commandments right, but we can miss the greatest commandment, which is to love the Lord our God with all of ourselves, everything that we have to offer. We can check all the boxes we want to all day long. We can be legalistic all day long. We can look just right and talk just right and act just right. We can go to church and do all the right things. We can be involved. We can put money in the offering plate. We can even sing on the platform. We can speak behind the pulpit, and we can still miss it. We can still miss it because it doesn't matter how much you appear to have it all together with God. It doesn't matter how much you appear to have your life right with God and your heart right with God. Man looks on the outward things, but God looks on the heart, the scripture tells us. And so if we have rebellion in our heart, if we have angst towards God in our heart, if we are doing all the right things on the outside and on the inside, we're saying, no, I've got time for God later, not today, not this week, not this Sunday, something else is more important. I need to do this first. I need to do that first. I need to take care of me first. I need to indulge first before I put God first. Then we don't have it right. It doesn't matter how many outward boxes we check, we don't have it right. It takes just one yes for a sinner towards God, and they're going the right direction. It takes one yes from a sinner's heart to God for them to be going the right direction. It takes one no from a Christian's heart to God for them to be going the wrong direction. That's as simple as I know how to put it. The appearance of righteousness is not enough. Checking all the right boxes is not enough. Service to our church is not enough. We have to have it in here. We have to have intimacy here. We have to have relationship here. We have to have that, you know what, God, I might have made the mistake of saying, no, I don't think I can, Lord, but I'm going to do it anyhow. I'm going to push past my feelings. I'm going to push past what I want to do, Lord, and I know I'm going to do the thing that pleases you. It's okay to say, God, you know what? this thing over here is not what I want to do. My flesh desires that. My spirit is saying that's the way you should go. And yet your word and the drawing of your spirit is saying that's the way I should go. That's okay. It's okay to admit that. It's okay to say I'm human and I don't want to do the right thing. Paul said it. You think it makes you carnal? You think it makes you a bad Christian? Paul, the writer of most of the New Testament, said, you know what? I do the things I don't want to do. I am at war with my carnal nature. He said, there is enmity between Christ and my flesh. He said, those things I know are right are the things my flesh says, no, let's not do that at all. So you're not alone. You're not the first human being on the planet to want to do what's wrong. We just have to get over our feelings. We have to get over our flesh. We have to push past our carnality and do those things we know pleases God, especially at first, especially whenever they are very difficult, whenever we begin to form a habit of doing the right thing, when we begin to form a habit of going towards God and away from our sinful desires, it gets easier. And before you know it, those things that your heart said, no, I want to go that way on, and your spirit's being drawn of Christ on this way, those things become easier to go towards God. It becomes easier to push past the flesh. It becomes easier to bring your flesh under submission to God's Spirit. The more that you silence that flesh and say, not today, flesh. You don't run me. You don't own me. I belong to Him. The more you do that, the more that you get past that, oh, all I need is to check my Christian boxes, the more you get past that mentality, and the more you sacrifice and say, I'm going to do what I know is right, whether I feel like doing it or not, the easier it will become. The more you will be leaning into Jesus and less you will be leaning into yourself, okay? The appearance of righteousness is not enough. Man looks on the outward, but God looks on the heart. Which of these two sons obeyed their father? Which of those two sons are you? Go and read Matthew chapter 21, verses 28 through 32. And if no one has told you lately, you are loved and you are cherished and you are valuable. You have beautiful, tremendous worth, my friend, and that worth is far above rubies. Thank you for being here with me today, and I will see you all again tomorrow. God bless you.